What's up, everybody? Today we are going to be talking about the most collective fruit tree right here, and there's a lot of reasons why this plant, in my opinion, is the most collective, and it's actually pretty addicting to collect. Most people who buy one buy more. In this video I'm going to be telling you all about these fruit trees, why you can grow it anywhere in the world, why they're the most collective. So if you guys don't know anything about this fruit tree already, and this is the first time you've heard of a Jaboticaba, it's a subtropical plant native to Brazil to South America, but the reason why I say you can grow this anywhere in the world is because you can grow them in containers, and they fruit in containers. And what's really cool about this fruit tree is it actually fruits more than one time a year. It's a grape, but it's like a berry to me, and I just really enjoy them. So even if you're somebody in a colder climate, you can actually have this plant in a container out on your patio in the summer or on your porch in the summer. And in the winter, you can have a greenhouse you can pull it into. And if you don't even have a greenhouse, then guys, you can just bring this plant in your house. It is a fine house plant. And even if you have an apartment, you guys can be growing these on your balcony because they stay very small. This plant is perfect for anybody out there, and it's an evergreen tree. It's just, they're like natural bonsais. And I'll actually be showing you guys a couple pictures today of bonsais. But in today's video, we're gonna be talking about how to care for them, how to prune them, all the different varieties, because like I said, these are addictive. And the first time I saw this fruit tree, it captivated me and kind of enchanted me. And since then I've went to Brazil and collected them, and I've been to all these nurseries all around Florida to collect fruit trees as well. I'm actually growing hundreds, not hundreds, but over 100 different types of tropical to subtropical fruits right now. And out of all of them, this is my favorite plant to grow and my favorite plant to look at. Favorite tasting fruit is a chacha. But without further ado, let's get into this video. So we're just gonna jump right into it and start talking about the varieties that I'm really excited about. So I would say off the top of my head, my three favorite varieties of Jaboticaba right now is Broncomel, Valparaiso Coronata, and Grimmel. Flavor wise, those have been the best ones I've tasted and my favorite. You can't go wrong with any Jaboticaba variety. They're all sweet, they're all gonna be good. Some might be a little sour than others, but all Jaboticabas are gonna be good. If you've bought any Jaboticaba, do not be upset about it. You're gonna love it, I promise. As the years go on, we see new varieties and we get to taste new varieties. So always it's gonna be changing which varieties we like. And that's something I hope I'm gonna be able to do, is breed fruits and bring something new to the Jaboticaba world, to the Patio world. Right behind me here we have Valparaiso Coronata, and this is one I'm really excited about. It's a double grafted tree, and just that new growth is so beautiful. Now normally Coronatas take about 15 years, 10 to 15 years to start fruiting, but since this tree is grafted, I'm hoping we'll get fruits in like 2 or 3 years from graft. And there's a lot of different Coronatas, Hestinga Coronata, Valparaiso Coronata. It's just a bloodline, and how you know it's in the Coronata bloodline is the bottom of the fruit has a circle on it, like a crown. Right here we have a cauliflora bloodline Jaboticaba. This one is the Otto Anderson cauliflora. I'm very excited about it. This is the selection, another grafted tree. This has beautiful red new growth, and supposedly the fruit is huge, juicy, and very sweet. Adamar at Frutas Harris in Sao Paulo, Brazil, he says that this is his favorite variety to eat. My favorite variety so far is the Broncomel, and Broncomel means white honey. If I know what the translation in Portuguese is for these names, I'll tell you. So this one is Broncomel, and it's also called white honey, and it just has this beautiful foliage. Like, this would be a great patio plant. It's evergreen, and to me the leaf kind of looks like an alligator back or something. Here's another one that's pretty cool. This one's called watermelon, and the fruit actually ripens up and looks like a watermelon. It has these green and red stripes on it, and the new growth is beautiful, fuzzy. I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but it's literally fuzzy. And this tree fruits in about 5 or 6 years from seed, and in Brazil they call it Broncomelancia, and which just means watermelon, I believe. Here we have one that isn't being grown a lot, but it should be. This is a very precocious variety, which means it fruits very early. It is the Chapada diamantea, and you can see that growth. It's fuzzy as well. But what's cool about this variety is it actually comes from a region in Brazil that's more of a savanna in the state of Bahia and Minas Gerais. And the whole entire thing just gets covered in flowers. It doesn't just flower here and there. The whole entire thing is covered in flowers, and the fruit has a little bit of fuzz too. I believe it's in the Nana family. If you guys know your jabos, you'll know that one. This is one that a lot of you guys want, and I wanted as well. This is Ojo de Boy selection. Now, out of all the Jaboticaba fruits, this one has made the biggest fruit. It has the record. It made a 5 centimeter fruit. The flavor on it is very good, I've heard. I'm excited to see it. I'm excited to taste it because I have never tasted or seen this variety. The Ojo de Boy is a coronata as well, so it would take 10 or 15 years from seed, but since we have a grafted tree, hopefully we'll get some fruit in a year or two. Here's another grafted Ojo de Boy. Now, as far as ornamental goes, if you guys are in the plant community, you probably know about variegated plants, and you might even have variegated plants in your yard and not even know it. But variegated just means it's kind of like albino. Somebody has to plant 100,000 seeds to get one that has this white in it. So this was a scion we grafted, but what's unique about it, you can't really tell right now because the tree looks rough, is we have two different types of variegation here, and I'll show you. So you can see that on one of them, the variegation, the white is in the middle, and on this other variegation, the white is on the outside, and this leaf is also kind of corkscrew. So what happened was we grafted this, and one branch pushed out a different type of variegation, and I can even look at it and tell that the bark is a different color. So I'm hoping that the fruit is better tasting than this variegated Paulista, because yes, this is very ornamental, but guys, it's not going to be the most productive fruit tree. It's not going to have the best tasting fruit. But I'm hoping that since this one is still variegated, it will have a more unique flavor. Maybe it is more productive. And I've seen the variegated red hybrid out there. The variegated red hybrid looks pretty similar to this. It just has a faint variegation pattern, but this is not variegated red. This is variegated Paulista number 2 is what we're going to be calling it. And I'm hoping to graft some of these soon, but I think I'm probably going to wait until I get to taste the fruit to see if it's anything special. But I'm sure there's a lot of guys out there who would want that variegated Paulista too. Here's a nice another Otto Anderson selection cauliflora. These are all seedlings that came from Brazil. Very special seedlings. Fohima is another cauliflora bloodline that I got to taste in Brazil. There's watermelon seedlings in here, Valparaiso seedlings, Broncamel, ESAOQs, Scarlets, and a couple more I'm not thinking of, but I'm keeping all these forever. And the reason I'm keeping all these forever is because the farm that these came from, there's Jaboticaba trees fruiting side by side, different varieties. So it's very possible that a bee came, pollinated the flower, and then went to another Jaboticaba tree, pollinated that flower, and literally made a new variety. So what I'm hoping for is that there's a couple hybrids in here. So far, I can kind of tell there's some stuff going on that I might suspect of a hybrid, but you really have to grow these trees out for a couple years until you can tell. Sometimes you can tell right away if you planted all the same variety of seed, but this is something that I'm excited about, and I look forward to growing all these and watching them grow over the years and hopefully selecting a new variety out of here. So this is another coronata here, and it doesn't have that red new growth like a lot of Jaboticabas do, but it's still very beautiful. It's just a nice light green color. And this is Histinga coronata. Normally the coronatas take 10 to 15 years, like I said, but this one can fruit in as little as 6 to 7 years if you're lucky. And here we have a double grafted tree. I was lucky enough to collect this one from Adam Shafran, and his tree just started flowering for the first time last year too, so this is all mature wood. But this graft got broken a little bit, and you can tell it's just coming right back. No big deal. This is one that I've heard, you know, I've seen pictures of the fruit. The fruit isn't the biggest, but I've heard from a lot of people that it's very unique, and it still has that cool crown on the bottom like all the coronatas do. So over here we have a lot of special trees that I'm keeping. These are all my personal trees. This is just a double grafted sabra, and that's a really big leaf on a sabra. Normally the leaf doesn't get that big. We put it straight into a 25-gallon pot. We have some onions growing around there too. Sabra is a very good tasting fruit. It's the most common, and it's also the rootstock that everybody uses. As far as I know, even in Brazil, that's the rootstock they're using, the cavalo. But very good. I'm keeping this tree because I want the seeds, I want the fruit for rootstocks. Here's a nice seedling red hybrid, and you can tell it just had a couple flowers opening in there. I don't know if you guys can see that. There's still a couple flowers opening on it. We got this tree from John Kimber, actually, the godfather of Jaboticabas in Orlando. This is some kind of hybrid. I believe it has Hestinga coronata blood, but we're gonna grow it out and keep waiting. This one is giant trunciflora. I don't know too much about this variety. Supposedly it can fruit in as little as 6 years, which is cool because the trunciflora bloodline normally takes about 10 to 15 years. And supposedly this one makes a lot bigger fruit. So this is just a seedling that we're gonna grow, and hopefully in 3 or 4 years it'll fruit, but whatever. Here's another hybrid Hestinga. We'll wait and see what that one does. We got Peruviana. Doesn't look the best, but it's coming back. This is Serrana, which I believe is some kind of cauliflower as well, but I've heard this one can fruit in 4 to 6 years as well. This tree kind of has a cool story. This was a red hybrid seedling I planted, and I bought seeds from Adam Shafran at Flying Fox Fruit, and a couple of the seeds that I bought came up looking totally different. And you can just, if you guys know your jaboticabas, this isn't a red hybrid, so it's one we're keeping. It looks a lot like the Sanford jaboticaba, but it can't be the Sanford because it was a red seed. Back here we have a couple. This one's unknown. This one came from Charles Novak. We're not sure what it is. Looks like some kind of coronata. It's a grafted one we're keeping. This one is the Novak trunciflora, which is sabra crossed with trunciflora, and I've heard that one makes a very good fruit. I'm excited about it. This is just an unknown Phytrantha. Who even knows what kind of Phytrantha this is? Here's one of the cauliflower bloodlines, Paulista. This one makes a very big fruit as well. It's got a nice sour to a sweet note to it. Here's a cool one, Grandifolia. It's got fuzzy new growth. And if I had to guess with you guys, the watermelon has this in its bloodline. Like, to me, this looks a lot like a watermelon, and it even has that fuzzy new growth. So I would have to guess that the Grandifolia is a hybrid with the watermelon. That's how they got the watermelon. There's a nice 7-gallon red hybrid back there that is just starting to flower. Here is another kind of unknown Phytrantha that we're keeping to grow out. Could be Novak trunciflora. Here's another hybrid Hestinga. Here's a big leaf I'll show you guys. So if I had to guess, this would be crossed with ESAOQ and Hestinga, or maybe Grimmel and Hestinga. You can tell this bark is a very gray color, and this bark reminds me a lot of Grimmel and Hestinga. Or ESAOQ and Grimmel, sorry. So I think this is probably crossed with Grimmel or ESAOQ. Keeping that one. It's growing very tall and upright. So a lot of these varieties are gonna stay more small, be more dwarf. Sabra kind of grows upright. Red hybrid for the most part is a more dwarf tree. Grimmel's a little more dwarf. But some of these trees want to get big and grow straight up. Here's a nice scarlet that's been fruiting for me. There's a couple flowers right here you can see. Scarlet is a very good variety. If somebody's just getting started into this, I recommend Scarlet and I recommend Red Hybrid. There's a couple people, if you guys are wanting a starter pack, I can make a starter pack for you and maybe do 3 grafted trees, grafted red, grafted broncomel, and like a grafted scarlet, or something that'll take a little longer, a sabra or something. Let me know in the comments if you guys would like that. This one is another Ojo de Boy selection, but you can see we have a little bit of an aphid problem. And all these trees are so strong, you don't have to worry about any diseases with your jaboticabas. The aphids are on there, but it totally won't even hurt this tree. I kind of just wipe it off to help the tree. This is another really cool tree. This is another red hybrid seedling seed that I bought, and it came up looking totally different, and we've been growing it for about 2.5, 3 years now, so hopefully we'll get fruit soon. But I suspect this one to be a hybrid because it doesn't look like red. This was actually a Sanford seedling I bought from Adam, but I got to pick out of a tray of them, and I picked one that looked a little different, and he suspects this to be crossed with anomaly, but who knows, we'll see. It's a Sanford mother, so it probably has another year or two till it fruits. This is a unknown coronata here we got from Charles Novak. It looks a lot like Hashtinga, but the bark is not Hashtinga at all. This one is Black Pearl, and the reason I'm keeping it is because I planted a ton of Black Pearl seeds, and normally all the Black Pearl leaves look like this, but this one came up looking just a little bit different. You can see some of its leaves over here are really long and skinny, and out of all the ones I planted, this was the only one doing it, so I suspect that it could be a hybrid. And I think this one comes out of Taiwan. It's a newer one. I'm sure there's a couple people around here that probably are fruiting them now. Behind is just a little Pingo de Mel seedling. This isn't the selection Pingo de Mel, this is just a seedling. And we're getting a little crop of fruit on this red hybrid right now. And there's still a couple flowers coming up here that haven't opened yet. And back up real quick, I just want to show them how tall this tree is. It's in a 25-gallon pot. I just up-potted it. Guys, this tree is probably 6 or 7 years old, and if I wanted to, I could keep it a lot smaller, but you see how their growth habit is. They're not really trees, they're shrubs. They're hardwood trees, very slow growing. I mean, this is just perfect for somebody's patio right here. Here's another cool one we already talked about. This is the Chaponda diamantea, but instead of grafted, it's a seedling. So I got a seedling one too. And I like to put these little tags on there, but the squirrels have been coming out here messing with me. Here's another unique one. This was another red hybrid seed I planted, and it came up looking not like a red. So we're growing it, we're keeping it. Here is one. It's a Fratrantha. It's called ESAOQ, and I believe that's an acronym from a university in Brazil that's called ESAOQ, and this is one that they selected for being unique. I've tasted it a lot, and to me it's not a bad tasting fruit, but it's not that unique. A lot of the Fratranthas taste very similar to me, but this one does make a bigger than average Fratrantha fruit. Back here, one of mine and Andrea's favorites is the Grimmel. It doesn't look the happiest, but it's got a lot of beautiful new growth coming out right now. And the Grimmel is very sweet. A lot of these jaboticabas have a little bit of tart to it, but they have that sweet to balance it out, so it's a sweet and a tart. But the Grimmel is, to me, mainly sweet. You don't really get any tart notes to it at all. So if I had a big giant bowl of jaboticaba fruits right now and I could pick one just to eat all of them, I would pick the Grimmel because it's just very smooth and it's very mellow. Typically the Grimmel fruits in about 7 to 8 years. They can take a little bit longer, and another name for the Grimmel is Peluda de Alagoas, and Alagoas is a state in Brazil that this comes from, which is kind of a drier climate as well. So I believe the Grimmel is good for drought. So that's pretty much all I'm going to show off in this zone. I'm going to take you guys and show you a couple of the patio plants I have up on the porch. This is another Sabra. There's another Sabra behind me. You guys could put these things in very beautiful decorative pots, and really they don't need to be repotted too often. This tree has been in this pot for coming up on 3 years. It's a grafted red hybrid, and it just started flowering too during the hurricanes, but then the hurricane knocked all the fruit off. But now that it's flowered, we'll know will set more fruit. But like, guys, this tree could easily be in your house. It could easily be on your porch, and it's fruiting. It's already fruited, and it's so small. And it doesn't look the happiest right now, but all of its new growth is coming out, and it looks beautiful everywhere. And here's another Sabra. I have a lot of Sabras in 25-gallon pots that I'm keeping, and that's just because, like I said earlier, I want to have fruit of the Sabra. I want to have the rootstocks. I want to plant all the seeds so I can continue to graft these and get them out there for people. So this is an example of kind of like a little bonsai Jaboticaba. Not really. I just did this one as a house plant. And we have these for sale on our website. If you guys are interested in Jaboticaba trees, I recommend the red hybrid to get you started. And if you're looking for a tree this size, this tree is already about 3 years old, I would say. 2.5, 3 years old, I bet. We're selling these for around $50 on our website. If you ordered, this is exactly what you would get right here, something that looks like this. This size could fruit in as little as 2 to 3 years. As soon as that trunk gets about the thickness of your thumb, I would say it could fruit. Behind me are just two beautiful Sabras. We're in the middle of February, and these guys are just coming out of dormancy. They're not really dormant, but they will lose their leaves a little bit in the winter just because it's more dry. This was the first Jaboticaba I ever bought. It's been in this pot for over 3 years, and I haven't repotted it again. This Sabra, it started to flower this year, but its flowers fell off. It wasn't strong enough to hold the flowers. This is pretty much the biggest Sabra I have. These are just all around the patio. If you look over here, here's another one in a nice decorative pot. This one is a seedling of Sabra and Trunciflora, so it's a Novak Trunciflora hybrid. Very beautiful. Here's another Sabra that's in just a 15-gallon pot. It's just here for ornamental. So here we have two varieties of Jaboticaba in the ground, and if you're like me and you live in Central Florida, the Jaboticaba does great here. A mature tree can take well below a freeze. I would say they could take down into the low 20s once the tree is mature. But they love the sandy soil here. They just like a lot of water, and they like acidic soil too. So naturally in Central Florida we have sandy, acidic soil, so they're very happy. These trees, they don't like full sun. If you're gonna put them in full sun, you're gonna have to be watering them a lot. These get dapple light from the big oak trees around. But this is a red hybrid that's been in the ground for 1.5 years, 2 years. And it was a very small tree when I planted it. And it's starting to flower now, finally. Here is a nice Sabra. This Sabra is probably 8 years old, I would say at least. And look, remember I showed you guys those aphids earlier. Here's one of my helpers right here. Ladybugs eat aphids. So, in this tree you can tell right now it's a little bit wilted, and that's because it wants water. I haven't mulched these trees at all, guys. These trees are not mulched. If I did mulch them, I would definitely have to water them less. And inside here, I threw a nice Hishtinga scion there. So I did a graft, you can tell. And then there's another Hishtinga scion up there. But this tree is just so beautiful, guys. So yes, I live in a subtropical climate. If you live in a tropical climate or subtropical climate, you can easily have these trees in the ground. But like I said before, anywhere in the world you guys can be growing these trees. They fruit in containers, they stay very small, And you can prune these trees up however you want them to look. You can make them into a bonsai. So these trees were in a very shaded spot, and I just moved them recently to a more sunnier spot. So something I'm gonna do to protect them is literally put tree moss on them, Spanish moss, and this is gonna act as just a little bit of a shade net. And I'll show you right over here. This is what it looks like if your Jaboticaba tree is getting too much sun. So we'll look for a leaf that's burned up. I believe all the leaves that were already burned up kind of fell off. You can kind of see this redding around the edge, and that's just a sign that your tree was getting too much sun. You need to irrigate it more, you need to give it a little bit more shade. But these trees can take almost full sun if you're irrigating well. The Jaboticaba trees like very acidic soil. You guys live in the city like me and you have city water. Well, it's not good to be spraying your plants all the time with city water. Some of these Jaboticaba varieties are very sensitive, but if you buy a grafted tree, you don't have to worry about it as much because the sabra is really strong. But I have a lot of seedlings, so what I do is I collect the rainwater. If, like right now, it's in the middle of February and we haven't had rain for 2-3 weeks, so I'm running low on water. So what I'll do is I'll bring the water hose over here, fill this barrel up with city water, and then I let this barrel sit for at least 2 days. I let it sit for 3 or 4 days, just to let all that chlorine evaporate off. And when that chlorine evaporates off, the water is going to be more acidic. And then I will take rice vinegar, I'll take apple cider vinegar, or just any kind of vinegar that's very acidic, and I dump it in here once the chlorine's evaporated off, just to help lower the pH even more. And don't be scared about burning your plants with vinegar. I've gotten the vinegar straight on the leaves of my fruit trees before and it doesn't burn them. Don't aim for the leaves, aim for the soil. Yeah, that's how I convert city water into okay water for your Jaboticabas, because for me it's really a chore. If I don't have rainwater, I will literally go to the store and buy distilled water. But I haven't been doing that because I have been converting the city water into okay water for the Jaboticabas now. Like I said, anywhere in the world, you guys can be growing this, you guys can be fruiting it, and it's such a sweet fruit. It's very medicinal, it's got unique nutrition to it. If you're somebody who loves fruit trees, who loves houseplants, somebody who loves bonsais, this is the plant for you. Even if you don't like any of those things and you're just a plant person, this is a plant for you. This is a beautiful evergreen tree. Go buy your first Jaboticaba if you're new and you haven't heard of this fruit tree. And I hope you learned something. Please like and subscribe, guys. Comment if there's any of these Jaboticaba varieties here that you want me to graft, or if you're looking for them, just comment the name down below if you want me to graft them. But that's it for this video.